Let me introduce you to Marvin, a pretty normal and calm guy. His life is the dream of anyone over 30 years old. He has his own house, a successful business, and enjoys cooking. Everything in his life seems to be in perfect balance. And today is a very special Valentine's Day, a day he really likes. He doesn't have a partner, but that doesn't mean he can't spread love and good energy to people in his life. That morning, he gets up early and bakes cookies for his clients. He has an important meeting, but stops on the way when he notices something strange with his face. It's not about the face he's wearing, but the image that has been painted on hundreds of benches throughout the city. You see, Marvin is a successful real estate agent, but someone has taken it upon themselves to vandalize his face. Everywhere he suspects it's Sachs, his rival in house sales. Sachs is quite a character who thinks he's Bruce Lee and uses karate as a strategy against high prices. Marvin calls his assistant Ashley to inform her about the notices he has seen painted on his way to the meeting. He believes Sachs is harming him and they need to resolve this immediately, although peacefully. Ashley is the complete opposite of Marvin. The specter of Valentine's Day makes her nauseous. She doesn't believe in love or having someone special. However, that argument of family and love is what makes Marvin a great salesman. So he manages to convince many families to buy a home and ensure his success. That keeps him in a good mood, and on that day, nothing could wipe the smile off his face. That morning, he receives a red envelope in his mail. Upon opening it, he finds a letter that says "I'm back." And immediately he feels his blood freeze so much that he decides to cancel all his meetings and tells Ashley not to bother him. He tries to lock himself in his office, but someone is already there. When he wakes, his hand is on the table, a huge dagger piercing it with the wood. On his sofa sits Raven, a terrifying man who enjoys poetry. Raven also has a Valentine's card, and both have a rose drawn on them. Without wasting time, Raven tells him Alvin wants to see Rose, but Marvin has no idea where she might be. Raven knows how much Marvin values having buried his past, so he promises not to ruin his little real estate fantasy and tells him where to find her. But Marvin, against all odds due to his appearance, decides to fight his. In less than 2 seconds, his office becomes a knife-throwing practice area. Also, Raven has some tricks up his sleeve. Literally, he just pulled a huge blade out of it. Though Marvin is a bit rusty, he defends well against Raven's attacks, and importantly, he doesn't alert his companions celebrating outside. The fight doesn't last long. Marvin manages to put Raven to sleep in a masterful way, using a move he didn't even plan. He simply slipped, and that was it. Just after, he's about to escape his office, but his partner Cliff drags him to show him something. He's won the award for Best Salesperson of the Year, a monumental achievement for him. What a shame it came at such an inopportune moment. He's bleeding a lot and must get out of there immediately to avoid suspicion. Outside, Otis and King, the partners of a certain Merlo, are waiting, ready to attack as soon as they see Marvin leave the building. But our protagonist is more cunning than that. He borrowed Cliff's car and now has an advantage. In another scene, we meet this Merlo. He is also after Rose, and they know that Marvin is the bridge that will lead them to her. Merlo also works for Alvin, Marvin's brother, but he wants to impress his boss on his own. So he sent his people after Raven and told them to wait for the perfect moment to attack. It turns out that Rose used to work for them and made a fortune before escaping. Now she knows too much and has become a problem, a loose end. Marvin was supposed to have finished her off, but now with the Valentine's cards, it has been confirmed that it wasn't the case, and that's why they're hunting her. While they argue, Marvin arrives home, treats his wound, and takes his things. But he's not alone. Marvin surprises Otis, but King knocks him out before he can do more. They want the same thing, to know where Rose is. But as Marvin has said, he doesn't know, so he waits for the right moment to counterattack and restart his escape. However, something tells us it won't be that easy. Marvin weighs half of what Otis and King do. He is much bigger. The fight is intense and full of elaborate moves. The kind we love to see. Marvin is losing, but at least he's trying. Fortunately, little by little the memories return and he feels more comfortable in the fight. proving he's much more than a real estate agent. Once the fight moves to the garden, it's time to flee, as he can't face both at once. Marvin only managed to take the title he just won from the house. But as soon as he reaches the car, they're waiting for him. It's Rose, the most sought-after flower of Eden, with a proposal for Marvin. Upon learning that Marvin escaped with Rose, Merlot panics and reveals that he was the one who stole all the money. King has to kill her as soon as possible or their heads will roll. When Marvin wakes up, he is in Rose's hideout and she is bandaging his wounds. Ashley calls him to leave a message and inform him that there is a huge guy asleep in his office. She found her book of poems and hasn't been able to stop reading it, but she wants to know what to do. However, Marvin doesn't have time for that now. He's seeing flashbacks in his mind about his moments with Rose, whom he was supposed to kill, but ended up falling in love with. Back with Ashley, Raven wakes up and it seems like they're about to fall in love at first sight. All thanks to his poetry, of course. The girl who hates Valentine's Day falls in love with the poet killer. With time against him, Merlot decides to go to the city himself to hunt Rose, and she must die before Alvin learns the truth about his money. In Rose's case, she fails to convince Marvin to help her, so she shows him her plan. He has Kippy, Alvin's accountant and the person who can prove she didn't steal the money. Rose is furious because she was framed. Maybe if they had offered her a share she would have cooperated. But they decided to screw her over, and now it's time to return the favor. It turns out that Rose was Alvin's right hand and the owner of his heart. But when he found half of the money in his car, Merlot poisoned his mind to make him believe she had betrayed him from the beginning. Merlot wanted his place and also kept half of the money, and it was Marvin who was given the task of eliminating Rose. But he was also in love with her and couldn't do it. Cliff, who had been worried about Marvin all day, went to visit him and ask for his car back, but ends up meeting directly with Alvin, who tells him everything about his brother, the monster he once was, and all the bodies he left underground. Despite hearing all that, Click remains calm and unafraid. He tells Alvin that maybe that was his brother, but it's not the man he knows. The difference between burying bodies and forming families is very big. Perhaps he sealed his fate by entering that house today, but that won't change his opinion about Marvin. He is his brother now, and he hopes Alvin gets what he deserves someday. After offering him one last drink, Alvin lunges at Cliff and kills him, while shouting that Marvin only has one brother and that's him. As for Marvin, he is talking to Kippy and learns some pretty shady things about his brother, who manipulated him for years to do the worst jobs. Although Raven would love to stay with Ashley, she already knows where Marvin is and has a job to complete. If they are truly meant to be together, she will be able to get over him killing her boss. Kippy manages to escape and calls Merlot to inform him about Marvin's hideout, so now all hell is heading towards the suburbs. Although Rose needs Marvin's help, she finally realizes how much she loves her new life. Maybe more than him. That is a decision he will have to make, but now he has to deal with Raven, who is eager to resume what they left unfinished a while ago. For his luck, Ashley managed to control Raven for the moment, but only if Marvin agrees to accompany him to Alvin's office without resistance. However, outside the house are Otis and King, who have just received orders from Merlot to kill them both and anyone nearby. Due to the current situation, Marvin and Raven have no choice but to make a truce, though that might not work entirely. But now Raven is worried about Ashley, so he has no other choice. It's that or she gets hurt. The action starts, and though Raven is good with knives, that doesn't compare to a Uzi firing 60 bullets in seconds. Upon hearing the gunshots, Axe appears and tries to help, but his karate moves are a bit exaggerated. At least it gives Raven enough time to attack. And seeing King hurt Ashley, his strength and agility flourish again. Raven takes care of both, and the truce with Marvin finally ends, so it's time to continue with his work. Marvin defeats him again, but the love Ashley shows for Raven makes him realize he made a mistake by not following Rose. A mistake he hopes to correct in time. Fortunately, Zack's left his car outside. As for Rose, she has reached Alvin's lair and discovers that he has already dealt with Merlot, and she has fallen into a trap and has no chance of defeating Alvin's men, who plan to execute them both and tie up loose ends. Luckily, Marvin arrives and it's time to let his old self out, the monster that Alvin once respected so much, but now has come to take revenge for everything, the manipulation, the lies, and not least for ruining his new life. Rose manages to break free. It's time for her to fight for her freedom too. Merlo ruined his life and is still breathing. But that can be easily fixed. You just need a loaded shotgun. Once the henchmen are gone, Marvin and his brother settle their differences. But first, he reminds him he never won a fight. So this should be interesting. Who needs therapy when you can solve problems with a fight? Bare knuckles. Marvin starts losing, but when he sees his brother wearing Cliff's hat, everything changes. Cliff was the brother Marvin chose, one who didn't manipulate him to kill and accepted him without asking for anything in return. Doing so is a mistake Alvin will have to pay for with blood. When he finds himself outmatched, Alvin plays dirty and uses a baseball bat, but that same bat becomes his downfall. After an intense fight, Marvin emerges victorious and decides to spare his life. However, Alvin cannot tolerate that his brother has defeated him and tries to kill him from behind. Luckily, Rose is there to stop him and reveals to Alvin that she cut off one of Kippy's fingers and sent it to the Russians. With that finger, they can access his accounts and discover that he has been stealing from them for years. Let's see how he manages now. Just at that moment, the Russians show up and take Alvin away. This time, Marvin won't save his ass. As always, his only priority now is Rose in the last minutes of Valentine's Day. Nothing says I love you like surviving a massacre together. Here are other summaries you love. Choose one before Ravens.